to us. In John chapter 14, verses 6 through 7, Jesus said to him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If you had known me, you would have known my Father. And from now on, you do know him and have seen him. And Jesus, in this one simple moment, is equating himself with God the Father. He's saying that he's fully God and that there is no way for anyone to get to the Father on their own. There's nothing that someone can do. We have no ability to stand before a holy God because of the sin we have in our life. But God wanted to provide a path to him. He wanted us to be able to have a relationship with him. And he provides that to us through his Son. We've been rescued. It's interesting, many other systems of faith will recognize Jesus in some way. Not in the way that Christians do, but they'll recognize that, well, he seemed like a really good person. He seemed like he had some really solid teaching. He seemed to have lived at some point. We can affirm and attest to that. But Jesus Christ is probably one of the most controversial figures within history. He's recognized by all of these different religions as a really good spiritual leader, as a teacher, as a prophet, but they don't believe who he said he was. These views of faith fail to give Jesus the proper authority. They don't recognize him as being fully God. They'll recognize the person of Jesus, but not recognize his authority as God as well. Imagine I picked 3 people to come up on stage, handed them all blindfolded them, and then managed to sneak an elephant in here without them really knowing about it, right? So we've got 3 people on stage and an elephant standing in front of them. And I said, I want you to reach out in front of you, grab what's in front of you, and try to describe for everybody what you feel in front of you. And the first person grabs a leg, and they got their arms around it, and they feel how rough the skin is, and they say, this is easy. I'm standing in front of a tree. I've got a tree. I can feel how rough the skin, how rough the outside is. It's round. I've got my arms around it right now. I'm clearly standing in front of a tree trunk. Meanwhile, another person grabs hold of the tail and begins to tug on it and pull on it and move it around. They say, this isn't a tree trunk. This is a rope. I could easily tie it on a knot right now. Don't recommend that you do that because it might upset the beast on stage, but that person is clearly convinced that they're holding a rope, and the 2 begin to argue. And then the third person chimes in and says, you both are way off. This is clearly a fan. I'm holding it right now, and I'm waving it right now. This isn't a rope. This isn't a tree. This is clearly a fan. And so you got to hang with me for this, this illustration to work. But this is what it's like with the world religions. Right? They're all looking at one piece of Jesus, but they're not looking at the full picture of who he is. If everyone took off their blindfold and was able to look at the full beast on stage that we snuck into this tiny room, it's truly amazing, right? In that moment, everybody would realize, no, that's really an elephant that's standing in front of you. And this is what it's like when we don't use God's word to give us an accurate picture of who Jesus is. We're just trying to hold on to one part and determine this is the whole of Jesus' character. This is the whole of Jesus' ministry. But the truth is we need to dig into God's word to be able to give us an accurate picture of who he is and what his ministry is about. We're groping in the dark trying to understand who Jesus is without being able to see the full picture of who he's revealed himself to be through his word.